Imagine a world where we had a major motion picture by Paramount Studios, produced by Tom Cruise, written by Danny McBride and David Gordon Green, and directed by Sam Jones about the fastest man on the planet, James Bubba Stewart. On the night of January 5th, 2002, Sam Jones, an American filmmaker, was attending the inaugural Anaheim 1 supercross, which ironically was James Stewart's professional debut. What he saw that night would spark an idea that he'd spend the next 8 years chasing.
And a lot of people, I don't think people know this story.
One thing I wanted to touch on, a fellow named James Stewart, not Jimmy Stewart, but James Stewart, you saw him do something that you found remarkable.
Yep.
Crashed and then ended up coming in second place. You're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
So then you had the opportunity to make a film about him.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it went Paramount, Tom Cruise was involved.
That's right. Michael London, Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
It was David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and I wrote the script.
Incredible. And then as many things do in this town, in this business, all that momentum that you had, all those big names, you know, all your own personal heat, you know, it falls apart.
Shocking, isn't it? For many years, I've imagined what the motocross version of Days of Thunder would look like, and it almost happened. But why didn't it? Well, that's tough to say. You see, this story is very well hidden, and before I unpack it, let's back up a decade or so and see the extraordinary talent, perseverance, and cultural impact James had in the world of motocross.
Are you the most dominant performer in any sport?
Yeah.
In the 85-year history of motocross, no one has ever seen anything like James Stewart.
James Stewart seems to be from another world.
James Stewart is the fastest supercross rider on the planet.
He's an 11-time amateur champion, youngest supercross champion, winner of 40 of his last 46 races, and the first African American to win a major motorsports championship.
I should probably stop here and explain more about this movie. As I said previously, Sam Jones saw James at his debut race. And after that night, he wanted to know everything about James and the life that led him to two wheels. He managed to get a breakfast with the Stewart family, and he told them, "I want to make a biopic of your son's life, with one condition. It won't be a fluffy, happy Disney movie. It will have trials, tribulations, heartache, and glory. But it must be told with actors at the highest level." And the Stewarts agreed. Sam Jones, eager as ever, would pay a visit to Tom Cruise and pitch the idea, explaining the life of James Bubba Stewart. He would show Tom the iconic video of James going over the bars at the Las Vegas Supercross.
Speed is so incredible. Oh! And James Stewart has just launched off his bike!
Tom was sold on the idea and said, "I've always wanted to make a more authentic race movie." He thought Days of Thunder was good, but it didn't have the reality behind it and wanted a second chance at telling a true story. And then it was off to the races. Sam Jones and David Gordon Green traveled to Haines City, Florida, and lived with the Stewarts for a month to learn anything and everything about their life story. Big James, Sonia, Malcolm, and James would tell them everything. They then went on to write a script over the next 2 years, hiring an additional member to the team.
Hey, Danny.
How's it going, Sam?
Well, it's going good. And you and I met in, I'm going to say, late 2004, early 2005.
Yes, that was the first time we met. Yeah, we were working together.
And I'll tell you that project is the source of one of the greatest heartbreaks for me in my professional career. So I somehow associate you with heartbreak.
Good. Well, I'm not trying to break your heart. There you go.
Well, so we should say that I had a story about a real life motocross phenom named James Bubba Stewart, and I had sort of acquired the trust and entree into the family. And then when it came time for the first round of notes, you showed up.
Something very intriguing about this story is Danny McBride's involvement. He's now recognized as a comedic legend of the past 2 decades, but his first taste of money came from writing the James Bubba Stewart film. This enabled him to leave his regular job and begin following his true passion, kicking off his career.
David told me that, you know, he was doing this project, and he wanted to know if I was interested in helping him pull it off, to do a lot of the legwork, I think. You know, David and I had written together in college, and David knew that I wanted to really write and that I was filling my days crewing, and so I didn't really have a lot of time to write. He's like, I'm doing this script, would you come and help me write it? I can get you a paycheck so that you could stop doing your other job for at least the next several months, and you could really get ahead of the work and not just, you know, hustling 2 jobs and working 60 hours a week to afford an apartment in Glendale. It's like, you know, I was able to kind of quit those jobs and then spend my days doing what it is that I wanted to do here, which is right. And I just think that little bit of time was enough breathing room to be able to start getting some other things set up.
Let me get this straight. You're saying that in some ways I'm responsible for all
You
the
are.
success.
Yes, you are. That project that didn't come to fruition started it all.
Oh, it's so funny because I feel like midway through that first notes meeting, I was like, you know, you were answering most of the questions. I was like, I think Danny wrote most of it.
It was 50-50.
But, you know, it was kind of interesting because then, you know, the heartbreak comes that we ended up not getting the film made. That one of those things that it looked so real from the very beginning.
Yeah, it did.
Paramount was on board, and it was like basically a green-lit Paramount thing, and
So, where did it all go wrong? James and his family would go to Paramount Studios and sign a deal memo, which was enough for Tom Cruise, Michael London, Paula Wagner, and Paramount Pictures to sign off on the project, agreeing on a $35 million budget. The script was then completed, the actors were picked, and then it was time to start production.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. At the tone, please record your message.
Unfortunately, the Stewarts would stop answering their calls at the most crucial time of this production.
And then once we had the script made, we sort of stopped getting phone calls back from the Stewarts.
Why?
And they had changed lawyers, and the lawyer had looked at the contract and said, well, if you have a life rights contract, these people could make you into a drug dealer if they wanted to. They could make, and we understood, okay, maybe they don't understand the way it works, and you have to trust people. And so we said, I'll tell you what, we'll come out and do a table read of the script. We'll hire actors, we'll read the whole script, because we sent them the script and we never heard back whether they liked it or not. Gave them script approval, which meant that if they didn't like something in the script, we would change it.
Dude, so it wasn't this life rights thing, but it was like, hey, here's the actual words in the script. You have to.
Well, they were worried about the life rights, so we said, well, look, we'll read you the script, and you will have approval on changes, which is very rare. You don't really see that. Usually with a life rights agreement, the studio has a lot more leeway to tell whatever story. But we wanted the family to trust us. I wanted to tell the right story, and
it was a great story.
There's no need, like, just tell the story.
It's a the story. You don't need to beef it up or anything.
My dad helped me at every race I go to. He fixed on my bike and drive me to the races.
James, you had some inspiration this week. I understand before coming to the Wetlands, you made a phone call to one of your heroes.
Yeah, I made a phone call to James Brown.
James Stewart is now the champion. Yeah!
See you at the races.
It was such a heartbreak because we felt them just not trusting the process, and then Tom Cruise and Paula Wagner and Michael London, they started to lose faith in the family, and I tried to keep it going, and I would leave voicemail saying, look, we're gonna lose Paramount here if you guys don't make a decision, and based on your involvement, we've spent a lot of money on this script. Yes, Tom Cruise gave James a call. They said, at one point we heard, well, maybe James needs to hear from Tom. You need to tell him how this is going to work.
Dude, Tom Cruise calls me. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, hey, when do I need to be there? Right.
I'm in Corona. I can be out there in an hour to finalize the script.
It sort of fell away, and I moved on to another project, and everyone else sort of moved on. And then I got a call in 2009. What was this movie? Like, why didn't this happen? And I said, ask your client. and he said, I am going to ask my client. And then he called me back and he said, James, I'd really like you to fly out to Vegas for, at the time, it was at the MGM Grand.
US Open.
The US Open. And you know, we want to get this movie back on track again. And James wants to do it. And he realizes maybe he made a mistake, all this stuff. So I flew out to Vegas and I sat down with him, and all he wanted to do was talk about who's going to play me and let's get this going again. And I'm excited to get it going. And I came back, and I'm ever the optimist, and I really wanted to make this movie. So I reached out to Tom Cruise and to, you know, Michael London, everyone involved, and they were like, nope, we're not gonna put ourselves in that position again. They felt like they were burned because they spent so much money, and our entire production crew. Not only was it as good as it gets in town, but it was also in good faith, trying to give this family everything they needed. And that was tough for us, and it broke my heart.
Why did it break your heart? Why do you?
Because it was a story I knew so well. I knew how to tell it, and I'd lined up all the right pieces, and I poured 4 years into it, and I wanted to make that film so bad.
Yeah.
More than any other film I've ever wanted to make, I wanted to make that story.
Yeah.
That was hard.
You courageously and actively put yourself in a lot of situations where you ask someone to trust you,
Yes.
you know, and it really breaks your heart when they don't.
Yes.
And would you say that there's an element of that?
That was the case with this film, exactly.
Yeah.
This was a film about a family.
Yeah.
It was a father-son story, which is another huge reason I wanted to tell it. And the family just didn't trust that someone that they didn't grow up with or know could tell their story. And I think it scared them. I think Hollywood scared them.
Do you think you scared them?
You really have to feel for Sam Jones, the Stewart family, and everyone involved. This isn't a story of spite. It's a story of the wrong place at the wrong time. And from everything I've gathered, it was the wrong time for the Stewarts. When you think about where they were in life, you can see how tough of a decision this would have been. Being the only African Americans in a predominantly white sport. Getting pulled in many directions without a blueprint on how to handle these new situations that they were faced with, but always sticking by each other's side, as they had since the beginning. This movie may have had intentions to paint a narrative they didn't agree with. But that's tough to say, as it's never been addressed by James himself. This clip here would make it more clear as to why this hasn't been spoken about by James.
Think about the opportunity. I mean, you can never turn back the clock. And, you know, we shouldn't comment on speculation, but think of the doors that would have opened for the sport.
Well, I'll tell you one fact about films that are put out by studios, and a lot of people don't know this. Usually the budget spent on advertising and promotion for that film is equal to the budget to shoot it. So you can assume that Paramount was going to spend between $15 and $30 million promoting the movie. And I would posit that there's never been that much money spent marketing this sport in the history of the sport. So it would have been a way to push the sport in the mainstream.
Knowing that the sport lost out on roughly $30 million of marketing, he may hold some guilt, but he shouldn't. At the end of the day, we didn't have a James Stewart movie, but what we did have was the incredible person he is, on and off the track. His life's work is the story, and I'd argue that the story is more compelling today than it was in 2007.
There are very few people that ever left me awestruck standing by the side of the track, but you did it so many times like you lost count, and truly the fastest man on the planet, but also the most talented motorcycle rider I ever saw throw his leg over a supercross motocross bike. So it's our great honor to induct you in the AMA Hall of Fame.
It's an honor, and like right now I'm just thinking about just thinking about where I started at, in 1145 Carefree Go Drive, with my mom and dad, driving my neighbors crazy, around in the backyard, and just being different, even from the kids that I grew up with, in school. Like, they always used to, pick on me and stuff. I wasn't the cool kid. I wasn't the kid they picked for the football team. And coming from there to, like, being on this stage tonight, and now when you talk about my name and people mention me, it's Hall of Famer James Stewart. And being inducted tonight is the perfect time for me personally, because I'm in a place in life where I can actually enjoy this and kind of understand what I've accomplished and what this means. And I can't help to think it's because of them two right there, being around and trying to be a good dad and just trying to be a better person. Sorry. My mom and dad, they sacrificed everything for me, coming up. And my dad, even though he claims he was the first James Stewart and taught me how to do it, he's telling my little man, he was like, ask him who taught him how to ride. I said, well, technically he did. He did, but my dad was always there, pushing me and with me from the beginning. And I think that's probably one of the, out of all the things you can do as now being a dad and all the things in life, and especially for me, like, my whole career was about my family. Like, I wanted to win to make my dad happy. And so to be here and be able to be nominated and now into the Hall of Fame, it's for you, Dad. And having my mom here, she was really the ringleader. He could say what he wants, but my mom was the one that kept everything together. And Malcolm, the proudest moment of my life was when you won that championship at 16, because you wasn't James Stewart's younger brother. You're Malcolm, and I'm proud to call you my little brother, even though you're bigger than me. My little brother. So I think if you have a dream, live it. I was told I don't belong. I was told I was different. I always used to say we looked the same in the helmet. I was told we wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make it. And as much as I try to instill in my kids and even people around, it's hard to get them to understand. And so there's a lot I want to say, but I'm gonna say this: anybody out there, kids, embrace, enjoy the people you're with, enjoy the times that you have with your family, enjoy the times that you have doing what you're doing, and live the dreams, and don't live your dream. Live your dream. And when people tell you they can't, buy tickets for them. Let them come. See the show. I hope one day my kids understand, how good Dad I was. But I think truly it goes back to what I first started saying. It's my mom and dad who gave me this opportunity and didn't live out their dreams for me to be able to live out mine. And thank you. Thank you. We did it. We did it. Polk County to the Hall of Fame. So there we are. Yeah. Well.